In your book, your protagonist is inspired by Sherlock Holmes. As a mystery writer, is this fictional detective someone you go back to for inspiration?
Absolutely. I think Sherlock Holmes is enormously popular in India. I know he was extremely popular in my youth. My mom used to actually read us stories from the adventures of Sherlock Holmes before I was, maybe even a teenager. So yeah, it's someone I do read his books. The odd thing is that Conan Doyle actually wrote a whole slew of historical stories as well that are much less known, but I find them kind of interesting as a look into the past as well.
Your novel is partly based on a real life tragedy that struck two women from the Godrej family in 1891. Why did you feel the need to explore this story through the lens of fiction?
Jane, our community, the Zoroastrians, the Parsis, as they're commonly known in India, had this tragedy happen in 1891. Two wealthy young ladies from a prominent family, a trading family, fell to their deaths, and their deaths were never really explained. There were actually two trials that occurred, and it was kind of the trial of the century. Um, there was no explanation. Essentially, the individuals who were arrested were let go because of lack of evidence. So going back to that time felt natural to me because I'd heard about it when I was growing up. And it became this sort of code word. We were a very conservative family. We didn't use certain words, in common conversation, or certainly with girls. So how do you explain to teenage girls who are just finding their wings that it's not really safe to wander around alone, even in broad daylight? So my parents used to use this kind of code word where they'd say, well, they tell me it's not safe, but that didn't really mean too much to me at that time. They would say, well, remember the Godrej girls. And that shadow, the mystery or the tragedy that occurred during that time was enough to really pull me back because I knew something bad had happened to them.
Here, I'd like to ask you, you've been in New Jersey for a while now, and your debut novel is set in Bombay. Was there any particular reason for this? Or do you feel that Bombay lends itself naturally to a crime novel or a mystery novel?
Bombay has always been this cosmopolitan place, this melting pot. And of course, I have enormous fondness for Mumbai. Having grown up there 24 years before I migrated to the US. So although I've been here, my roots are very much in Mumbai and in India. Maybe, being 30 years in the US, I had a sense of harkening back to a time, moments of my childhood or youth, as I'd be walking around, with an umbrella with the rain hammering down on it.
What's been your biggest challenge when writing mystery novel?
Trying to represent the picture in my mind, the action in my mind, trying to represent that on the page. And I will tell you that I rewrite pieces. I do over 40 edits of the entire manuscript. My cut scenes, so I remove, extract pieces that don't belong or aren't exactly right. That cut scenes file is 50,000 words. It's about half as long as the novel itself. So my hardest challenge is trying to represent the drama in my mind in words that will bring that to anybody's mind, in words that will sufficiently capture it. I think I've done a halfway decent job. If I read the reviews, I would kind of believe that. I will tell you that is such a struggle.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.